Peaceful greetings and welcome back to my channel. So we need to discuss a few things that are kind of getting convoluted and just mixed in and mixed up, okay? So there's a whole bunch of toxic positivity being mixed up with narcissism, mixed up with, what is actually going on in the spiritual realms, in the physical reality, right? So people are getting some things confused, right? So I'm going to give you some examples in my life that we're going to use as teachable moments, okay? And to kind of clear up some of these misconceptions, right? So people think just because some people are going through what they would call troubling times or turbulent, times or, whatever, they sometimes feel that that is the individual's karma, right? But some of us have actually stepped up to the plate, okay? And actually have already fought our own demons, right? Did the shadow work, healed, and all of that great stuff. Went back, did all the generational curses and, beat all them demons, right? But then we also have to realize that as Indigenous, right, there are foreigners on our land that have built up altars, okay? There are designer brands that I covered in another video that actually have our people wearing, different symbols and sigils that they have, actually designed particular designs to actually be subliminals, to actually be spiritual warfare against the original inhabitants of not only the Americas, but all the other various different lands as well, right? So there are some of us that have stepped up as chosen ones, as high vibrational beings, as light workers, as indigo star seeds, right? That have we've already done all that. So we ahead of the curve, we ahead of the game. We done all that. We're like on extra credit bonus points, okay? At this point, we on the extra credit bonus points, right? And we're actually taking out the principalities that were put over specific places, areas, right? So there have been, like, what, I'm not religious, but they talk about, in the Bible, that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but of what? Princes of darkness and principalities in high places, okay? So when you realize that you are not fighting with these bodies, these cause, these temples, these vessels, that these principalities, demons, whatever you want to call them, jump from body to body like a flea on a dog, right? Then you realize that you're not dealing with that individual. You're dealing with a spirit. You're dealing with a demon. You're dealing with an energy, an entity, right? That can manifest or can actually inhabit whoever within the vicinity is still tied into the matrix or plugged into the matrix. Like if you watch the Matrix, anybody could turn into an agent who was still plugged into the matrix, who was still a part of the matrix. It's very similar with the demonic spiritual, system as well. It's very similar. Whoever is, within that, group that is still tied into, and has not, freed themselves, has not went through, the shadow work, the healing. They haven't done any of that. They're still within their lower selves. Yeah, they're still able to, they're still doing drugs and drinking alcohol and in addictions and, low vibrational sex and things like that. Yeah, they can be easily hijacked, easily taken over by these entities, spirits, principalities. Very easily. It's not hard for them. It can be instant. So, you're speaking to an individual and vibing, and then all of a sudden they get hijacked. And the whole thing changes, right? So I just wanted to come and do this video, right, to clear up that this is when people in high vibration have actually stepped up to actually protect other chosen beings that are being, bombarded with, these energies, gang stalking and craziness, right? When other high vibrational beings are fighting battles that are not just, it's not just theirs anymore. This is on a grander scale, right? Because I realized that there are literally altars that have been set up on indigenous land to oppress indigenous people. And these altars are all over the map. A lot of these businesses have altars in them. Okay? I might put some in here so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay? They have altars that are personifying deities in opposition of, the indigenous and the indigenous on their own land. Okay, so we burning all them altars with 9 ether fire. Gamma rays, burn them down today. Okay? Yeah. So it's not just that, right? There have been principalities based on these altars, based on people's conjuring, bringing these demons and these principalities and princes of darkness and giving them dominion over specific lands, right? Confirmation with the leaf just falling on me. It hit me right on the finger when I said that. So even nature and spirit agrees with what I'm saying. So those things have been put in place. And there are some of us, this ain't our karma that we're dealing with. So people are looking at what we're dealing with as, oh, well, this must be our karma, and oh, we're toxic, or we're negative Nancy's, or we always have all this bad stuff going on. Well, we fought our own battles, right? Then we fought our ancestors' battles and broke generational curses. Now we come around and we fighting on a whole nother level and scale. Right? Yeah, so we've been battling for a long ass time, like damn near my whole life. Okay? In the waking hours and in the sleep state, in the astral realms, in all the dimensions, in all the realms. Yes. Fighting, slaying. That's right. Yep. That's what I'm known. Okay? In the spiritual and the physical. Okay? Yep. Okay. So anyways, the point is you need to reevaluate and reassess who you think is actually toxic and why they are actually, going through things, right? Because it's not always what you think it is or what it seems to be, just based on a superficial, unspiritual viewpoint, right? So another thing that I wanted to address is the victim blaming, right? So I got to a very love and light, high vibrational state, to the point that I was actually at that state literally unable to protect myself. I was so far on the spectrum of love and light that I was like not protecting myself, okay, in any way, shape, or form. So I had to come all the way back and balance it out. Okay? That's why I know I will whoop somebody's ass today. Yes, I will. Okay? And I'm totally confident and okay with that. Because some of these motherfuckers need their ass whooped. And that is not low vibrational. That's just a fact. Because that's the only language that they speak. Okay? And a righteous anger is something that they don't want you to know about. A righteous warrior, right, in high vibration, I don't have to be mad and in a low vibration to actually bring about justice. Okay, that's what they don't want you to put together either. They want you to be docile, and they want you to be in the mindset that you cannot protect yourself, because protecting yourself is against God, because you're supposed to turn the other cheek. I'm gonna tell you right now, the only cheek I'm turning is the one that they could kiss, because they could kiss my motherfucking ass. That's what they could kiss. That's the only cheek that they getting. Okay, and I mean that in all due respect. So when and if you have seen The Matrix, right, Morpheus fights Neo in training, and he gets him to realize, right, that he has more skill than Neo was actually expressing. So he pulls it out of him. But the main thing that I want you guys to realize is that when he fights the Asian dude, right, in the movie, he's not fighting that dude with anger, with ill in his heart. The Asian dude actually fights him so that he can actually, it's like an identifier. Because certain people, they have, like, for let's just take it to another example. So in art, it would be like an artist has their own stroke. They have their own identifiable, stroke of the brush, right? So in fighting, you have your own so-called, way and style and essence and strike of fighting. Okay, so it's very telling, and like almost like a signature, an autograph, right? So in the fighting, you can be in what is called Christ consciousness, which is of the enlightenment, the Buddhist enlightenment, the highest vibration, and still be able to protect yourself and what is absolutely right. Because wrong is wrong and right is right. And I don't want to say right as in a direction, but correct. Correct is correct and wrong is wrong. Okay? And these people are trying to feed the masses that wrong is supposed to be what's the correct way. But the devil and whoever is the adversarial forces you want to call is a lie. But we already knew that there was a lie, because that's all they do. Author of confusion and lies. Okay? So anyways, I'm not going to, as they say, run it up. I just want to come and do this quick video and let you guys know that there have been some misconceptions, and we are not over here going to blame victims, right? The victims are not toxic because of them being victims of certain things. Okay, I'm now, April just passed, and April was sexual assault month. Okay, and sexual assault awareness month. Okay, and in my heightened and elevated, how do I say this? When I was at the far extreme of love and light, right? I was like, how am I in such high vibration? How am I in, meditating? I'm listening to frequencies. I'm working out. I'm stretching. I'm doing all of these great things. How then did I manifest me being sexually assaulted? This was years ago, right? So I was like, in the mindset of what a lot of these New Agers were like, basically victim blaming in a roundabout way. Like, you had to have brought this into your reality. I was thinking nothing of any of that, nowhere even close, and that happened. So I had to come out of that mindset and be like, hell to the nah. Ain't no way that I brought that shit in. So you have to realize that some of this shit you ain't bringing in. It's these evil, diabolical mofos that's just wicked and evil. That's trying to come in and hack into your, high vibes and great energy and what you got going on. It's like, trying to come in and corrupt the experience. Right? And so I just want you guys to know, if you have been sexually assaulted, that has listen, I don't care what you wore, whatever. Okay? Because that's a lie too. Because the indigenous ancestors used to walk around topless and breastfeed their babies, and none of that stuff was going on because we were over sexualized. Right? So we need to stop with the buffoonery. Stop with the victim blaming, because the victim can turn pain into power, right? But we're not going to sit up here and actually make them feel some type of way like they brought it onto themselves, when we need to be handling the evil, diabolical mofo that did the deed. But they put in so much energy into trying to blame the victim, that they ain't actually bringing remedy. They're not holding the actual perpetrator, the actual criminal, liable. We ain't holding them accountable. We can account for every last single. Accounting is counting. We have counted all their wickedness. They need to be held spiritually and physically liable. We're changing the word accountability to liability, because in law, it's all about liability. When you're liable for something, because I hold people liable at their public and private capacities at the maxims of spiritual and physical law for all of their crimes and transgressions against me, both in spirit and in flesh. Ashe, Oshe, Ashe. So the thing is that we have been, basically coerced, right? We have been taught and programmed to use specific words. And I'm gonna just do it in this video, but I'll probably do a separate video about the words as well, because I told you I go in on these words. So some of the main words that they have programmed you to use, right, that actually hold no bearing really in law, is accountability. There's no accountability in law. It's liability. Are you liable? Are they liable? Who's liable? Liability brings about remedy. You can secure, reserve, or exercise your remedy with liability, not accountability. But that's the buzzword. They want you to keep calling it accountability. Fuck accountability. We are holding these people and everybody involved liable. Liability. That's number one. The second one is brutality. Police brutality does not exist in law. Fuck police brutality. It does not exist in law. You know what exists in law? If you were to actually file a suit, police terrorism. That's what exists. That's what you could sue for. Police brutality, it don't exist. Go look it up in Black Law's Dictionary, Bouvier's Dictionary. It would be under police terrorism. Okay? Terror. Who are the terrorists on American soil? On the indigenous land? We need to discuss that, because that's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother video. Okay? Because while they're trying to paint out other people in other countries, right, like Burkina Faso, President Ibrahim Traoré, as a terrorist, these mofos are over here the terrorists. Right? Same ones. Same ones. Yep. Same ones. Over here, the terrorist. Trying to point and say, oh, they terrorists over there. No, bitch, you the terrorists over here. So while you trying to make, righteous beings that actually are doing things for their people out to be something that they're not, and we can see right through it, right? We see right through that you also are the one that's calling the kettle black and you the terrorist. Okay? Over here. Yeah. Now, the other word that is a buzzword that they continually pump out and into the masses, right, is black. Black and African American are civilature mortus, civilly dead. They want you so bad to claim black because now, as an indigenous, you have now professed with your own mouth to be under a jurisdiction that you were not actually lawfully under. But because you stated that that's what you are, you checked that box that said that's what you are, now you have put yourself under a jurisdiction that you never were under. Yeah. You weren't under that jurisdiction. But, that's why they ask specific questions when they get in your presence. Because they are attempting to force you to assimilate, forced assimilation to the United States corporation doing business on your land. And you get put under their jurisdiction and under their control when you profess titles, identities that are paper genociding you and your lineage by claiming these ridiculous civilature mortus terms, which civilature mortus is civilly dead with no legal standing. You have no civil rights. So it's very contradictory to fight for civil rights when you are professing out of your mouth that Black Lives Matter, or that you're black and you're proud, or you're, black whatever. Black, just putting black in there, right? And we're not talking about the esoteric and the triple stages of darkness and the blackness in the sky. We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about the identity that has been it's been misused. It is a misnomer, and it is a wrongful identity. Is a misidentification. A misidentification that has paper genocided ancient indigenous bloodlines on the land. But there have been people strategically put in front of you to pump that word, right? For you to be programmed into that being somehow the word to use, instead of autochthonous, instead of aboriginal, instead of indigenous, instead of whatever culture you come from. Arawak, Taino, Niji, Gullah-Geechee, right? Khalifians, Amaru, or you go even further back. Atlanteans, Mississippians, Right. So anyways, I said I was going to end this video before. I'm not going to, as they say, run it up. If you need anything else from me, make sure that you check out the description, okay, where you will find my 2 websites, my activity ebook, Little Nazee the Great Goes for a Walk with Mommy to the various local valley libraries. Okay, wonderful activities for the whole family to do, from little babies all the way up to grandma and grandpa. Okay, high morale, high integrity activities. Okay, the college students are going crazy for this book, by the way. The college students, they're like, this is fire. So I got their approval and the baby's approval. That's all I really technically need, but we won't discount anybody else's love for the activity ebook. We love it all. We love all the love and all the great feedback. So anyways, you can also find Nieve Tigre's I was going to say Nieve Tigre's activity ebook. You can find his YouTube channel. Make sure you go over there and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Pray for my kitty baby, because he actually had come up missing. I think somebody kidnapped him, but we will talk about that in another video. I've already checked the animal shelters and he is not there. So, pray for my kitty baby's safe return to his kitty mama. Yeah, so, these adversarial forces have been at work, but the devil is alive. And we cancel, all of their assignments within mine and my lineage, as well as my kitty baby's life, period. So anyways, if you would like to support this channel, make sure that you hit up my CashApp, PayPal, or you can buy me a coffee. It is preferable that you use my PayPal or the coffee, because CashApp was actually acting funny with my money, okay? And so, yeah, the other 2 are a little bit more reliable, and, we already know. So, anyways, if you cannot, because financial means do not allow for you to actually, because I know a lot of people hurting with this bullshit-ass economy, right? I'm going to say this. This is the last thing I'm going to say. I'm surprised that there has not been an evolutionary with an R in front of it, before, because this is crazy. I don't think your ancestors, anybody's, I don't care if you Asian, black, misnomer black, indigenous, the original Indian, patriot, I don't think none of y'all ancestors would have, put up with all this shit. This went way too much far, with there would have been a tea party, or there would have been other stuff. Like, I'm just like, wow, it must be the fluoride. It must be the fluoride in the water, and the toothpaste, because the ancestors of all of us would have already been done, yeah. And I'm doing what I could do. I hope y'all get off your butts and do what y'all could do, because we don't have to absolutely, we don't have to take this. We don't have to live like this. This does not have to be our reality. We can choose to, create something different, totally different. Get back to free energy for everybody. Get back to free living in shelters. Not shelters as in homeless shelters. I mean homes, like, indigenous. There's multiple countries that don't even, pay rent, right? This whole, that's a foreign, that's absolutely like foreign influence. That has nothing to do with the original inhabitants. We never did that. That is not our culture. That is not culturally correct. Okay? So I'm just saying, there are like a lot of different ways of living, and this does not have to be our existence if we band together and make changes, like real ass changes, right? I've been saying this for a while, So I'm waiting on my soul tribe to, like, get it together so we can, do what we gotta do. But anyways, let's see, what else do I need to say? Oh, support this channel by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting, because all of those things help the algorithm to push this video out to more people. And if you share it, share, and share some more. Yeah, because, if they are trying to, do what they do to real content creators who aren't part of the agenda, we got to push it out manually. You know what I'm saying? To beat the system. So anyways, I'm going to end this video. Peace.